Hey there, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the time to catch this replay. If you are, please let me know in the comments so I can come back and thank you properly for making the time. All month long, I'm focusing my weekly messaging mini classes, which you're watching right here on my business page, on content creation and content strategy. And I'm going to recap a little bit about some of the things I chatted about. But today, what I'm tackling is how do you come up with a never-ending stream of ideas? Because how many of you, let me know in the comments, how many of you sit down and feel like when you write content, you just are out of ideas? You stare at the blank page, you have no idea what to write about. And even if you get some creative inspiration, sometimes you feel like that comes in fits and spurts. Well, I'm going to share with you a technique today that is so easy. My 13-year-old niece could master it. You can start using it today, and it's going to give you that never-ending stream of ideas. Now, if you don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Carrie Price. I'm a brand messaging coach, helping ambitious service-based business owners find and own the words to stand out, be heard, and make your message roar. Hey, Melissa, thank you so much for joining me live today. Melissa says, I have ideas, but they are all over the place. Yep, I can totally understand, Melissa, and it'll be interesting. That's not necessarily a bad idea if you're getting inspiration from a lot of places, but if you're feeling like it's not staying on message, if you feel like you're not showing up as an expert every single time, then that's something hopefully I can help you with a little bit here today. And then I'm going to talk to you about how I can help you a little bit more. But yeah, totally a normal feeling to feel like you're all over the place. Hey, Helen, thank you so much for joining me live today. It's so great to have you here. So before I jump in and share this technique with you or this tip, because I don't even know if I can claim it as a technique, but it's going to change the way that you think about content creation or content ideation. And I hope this helps you from here forward. Hey, Janet, good morning. So glad to have you here. Thank you for joining me live. So let's just recap really quick some of the things I've been talking about this month. Since all month long, we've been talking about content creation, content strategy. I've been demystifying it. Let's take away some of the overwhelming feeling and ideas, especially around that word strategy. I want you to be strategic, but really it's about having a plan, right? So when you think about creating a content plan, how you want to show up, where you want to show up, that's really what being strategic in your content planning is all about. And if you missed it, last week inside the messaging den, I had guest expert Linda Eno. I always get tongue-tied on her name. Linda Eno came in and she shared with us a really great way to think about repurposing your content. So what I'm going to share with you today that basically could give you ideas every day, coupled with her technique that she shared for how to multiply that content literally within minutes, taking one piece of content and turning that into 10, 20, 50 pieces of content, you're never going to run out of content after this month, right? Hey, Cheryl, good morning. It's so great to see you here. Thank you for joining me live. But one of the things I talked about with content strategy and planning is to have very specific goals. Now that all comes around your messaging too, right? It's who do you want to talk to? What problems are you solving for them? What's your area of expertise? What do you want people to know about you? Because all of the content that you put out there, that's marketing. Marketing is the delivery of your message, right? That's content. That's stuff you're putting out there that delivers your message. That's going to help drive the kind of content you create. And last week I even talked about types of content, video versus written, short form versus long form. So lots of great, hopefully, information. If you missed any of those, let me know and I'll share the links for some of the prior Facebook Lives. But okay, great plan. Now you've got a plan. You know that you want to do videos versus blogging versus some combination. You know maybe now who you want to talk to. Maybe you're starting to get clear on your message, but if not, maybe that's something you need to work on too. But now, how do you come up with ideas? So this is something that many of you probably learned to do as a kid, and we just haven't thought about it. as a way to get content ideas in your business. When you were young, who had a diary? Give me some emoji love. Let me know in the comments, thumbs or hearts, if you had a diary when you were a kid, or maybe you have a diary now. And how does that help you with content ideas? Let's think about all the things that you used to, or you might still document in your diary. Yeah, Cheryl's given me a thumbs up. I had a diary. Janet's given me a heart. Cheryl still does. Melissa's giving me a thumbs up. Yeah. Let's talk about what people typically might think of writing in their diary. You basically are looking at highlighting some key things that happened in your day, probably, right? It's so funny. Oh, this just came to me. I'm actually binging on Netflix, the Carrie Diaries, which is Carrie Bradshaw, right? That goes on to Sex and the City, and it's about her as a teenager, and it's all about her writing about her life and her experiences, right? So, what are some of the things that you would write about? You're writing about the experiences that you're having and the things you want to remember. You might today, if you now embrace this idea for your business, you might be writing about your client experiences. What are wins that your clients are having? What are struggles that your clients are having? What are struggles you're having in your business or your personal life? What TV shows do you watch? What books do you read? What music do you listen to? I'll give you another example. I love So You Think You Can Dance, and it's summertime, which means it's on right now. And just this morning, I was on the treadmill watching that last night's episode, and I was thinking about, for those of you who watch it, let me know if you watch it. It's a dance competition show, right? And so they have all these open tryouts, and then they go to what's called Academy Week, where it's 1 week of intense work where they're learning a bunch of different styles of choreography, very quickly have to learn it. They get to see some improvement in the dancers, and then they select the dancers that are going to make it on to the live show, where now America gets to vote for their favorite dancer. And every week, continually challenged to look at, learn new styles, work with choreographers, right? Well, do you want to know what came to mind for me today when I was watching that episode? Because they're just coming out of Academy Week and it was intense, and like you learned about they made improvement, but they have so much more improvement. It's kind of like the 2 programs that I have. I have the Impactful Introduction Intensive, which is a 5-day mini course that gets you a really clear, concise introduction, but it also starts to lay the framework for your message that you want to get clarity on. And in 5 days, you're going to see amazing improvement. There's only so much you can do in 5 days. So if you graduate from Academy Week into my full program, which is like making it to the live shows, we get much more in depth on all of the elements of your message, and you have an opportunity to grow and advance and become America's favorite, whatever it is you are, right? So here I was watching So You Think You Can Dance, and I totally had content idea come from that. So books inspire me, music I listen to inspires me. What about holidays and events that are occurring? I had content that went out last year or earlier this year when the Olympics were on, and I talked about I get inspired by, working for gold and like all these things. I got inspired every day by watching the Olympics. So when you look at just what's happening in your life every day, if you have your messaging foundation in place, it becomes second nature that you can turn all of that, any of that, into valuable content in your area of expertise. Cheryl says, I tend to write about what putting myself out there brings up for me, the emotional issues that comes with overcoming those fears. Cheryl, that's awesome. So my suggestion, though, is to always make sure you're tying whatever you're sharing back to your area of expertise. So I could share things about, and I love that you're doing that, first of all, and we all want to be honest and vulnerable. That's what helps people attract to us. But every piece of content you put out there should also be elevating you and establishing you as an expert in what you do. So how could you take that, share that vulnerable information, and turn it into some valuable insight into why people need to invest in the thing that you do as well? Because Cheryl, remind me, you're a graphic designer, right? Oh, you mean in your diary? That's okay, Cheryl, because this is exactly possible content for you. Whatever you would write in your diary becomes things that you can talk about. I'm currently re-binge watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon Prime. I watched it when it came out. It's up for 14 Emmys. It won 2 Golden Globes, and I'm rewatching it with my husband. He didn't watch it with me the first time, and I remember when it came out and they won their Golden Globes, and I had content that went out about that. Everything that happens in my life, I pretty much can create valuable messaging related content. So if you watched my Facebook Live, I think it was my first one this month, I shared with you something that Gary Vaynerchuk, commonly affectionately referred to as Gary, he shared that content is not about creating, it's about documenting. And if you take this approach that you using things that are happening already to you in your everyday life, and it's helping you share your consistent message. So that's the part that you might need some more support and help with. My clients talked to me about what it was like to create content before they had their messaging in place and how hard it felt. But now they literally see the world through their message. One of my clients says, she said, "Dang it, Carrie, I can't stop. Like everything I look at now becomes content to help me share my message." And so that's what can happen for you if you allow that to be the way that you think about your message and your content. Cheryl says, "I think that designing logos goes into that because the goal is to reflect the true person who owns the business in a way that attracts their ideal client." Cheryl, that's brilliant. That's exactly right. That's how you can take your own personal vulnerability, your own way of showing up and sharing raw, honest fears of what's happening and how that equates into designing a logo, creating your visual brand, right? Which makes clients feel vulnerable. Yeah, it makes people real. Marketing is a person-to-person activity. Even if you're a business marketing to a business, it's people who are receiving the message that you're putting out there, right? Being able to be vulnerable allows the right people to be drawn to you. Not everyone's going to respond to that, but that's not what we want. We don't need to appeal to everybody. We need to appeal to the people that we want to be attracting to our business, right? Who we want to work with. Dreamiest of ideal clients, not just anybody, right? So, okay, so what else would you put in your diary? Highlights of what happened, right? Your story, client stories, TV, books, music, holidays, events, like taking advantage of things that are happening this time of year. Linda Anno, who I talked about, who did the repurposing talk last week, I remember back in, it was either end of May or early June, some of the content that I saw her putting out in groups was, how are you taking advantage of summer and using that in your content? So if your ideal client is moms, how can you talk about whatever it is you do in a way that they're thinking about, because, hey, their kids are home from the summer or they're planning family vacations. How can you use what's happening in your client's everyday life to also create content? Right? And the other thing that I know I find myself journaling about, what I used to put in a diary, is we talk about our goals, our dreams, our aspirations. And you can turn all of that into content. Not only is it your own, like I share sometimes, like in my dream world, everybody invests in their brand before they launch their business, both messaging and visual branding, because it's so foundational. It allows you to basically hit the market well established with a clear message and like you hit the ground running, right? So that's my dream of what I really want most businesses to do. And I know that's not what most people think about doing. But I share that as my dream, and I share why it's my dream and why it's important. But how can you also talk about the dreams and the goals and the aspirations that your ideal client has and how you can help them achieve that, right? Do you see how now everything around you becomes content ideas? Everything you're doing already, everything you're experiencing with your ideal client, it's all content ideas. Now, if you sat down and you journaled or you wrote in a diary every day about everything that happened, you probably couldn't even create all the content from that. There just wouldn't be enough time. By the time you wrote a post or did a video and tried to repurpose it, like you have more ideas than you could probably ever with. But what about making note of that so that then when there is a day when you're just not feeling it and you're like, I don't feel like anything miraculous happened today that I could talk about. And by the way, it's the little things. I'm going to share a couple more examples with you of some examples of posts I've written about everyday things, right? But keep a list of all that stuff that's happening. You'll never run out of ideas. I promise you that. Like if you can really embrace this idea of how to come up with these ideas, well, okay, that's too many ideas in one sentence. You'll never run out of ideas. Janet, thank you for I love the little heart emojis, the heart eye emojis. Thank you. I take that you're getting value out of this and that this is something you feel like you could really embrace and do, right? So let me know in the comments what questions you have about this. And I'm going to share, oh, I missed one more before I share a couple examples with you. Another thing that you might write in your diary that's happening to you every day, very similar to some of the other things we've talked about, but it's lessons learned. What things have you tried that didn't work? What did you do to adjust it? Probably in your area of expertise, you tried a lot of things that didn't work before you locked into the thing that does work, right? How about sharing some of that? By sharing that, look, I tried these things. Here's why that doesn't work. By the way, maybe you're debunking something that's out there in the market that is a misconception that people believe you have to do X. Well, guess what? I tried X and that didn't work, and here's why. And now we try Z, and I help my clients do Z, and it's way more effective than X, right? Lessons learned. Janet says this is a lot of value. Thank you, Janet. I'm so glad to hear that. So it doesn't have to be big, epic things, though. I've written posts about playing Candy Crush because I have an addiction to Candy Crush. And I believe the title of that post was something like, are you playing for points or progress in your business? I have a post on playing the telephone game from when you were a kid. I have a post about sitting down to get heads down writing content one day and my mouse wouldn't stay connected to the computer and I was ready to throw it out the window, and I got up from my desk, ran to the store, bought a new mouse. I took an hour to do that, and then the rest of my day could be more effective. And what did I equate that to? If you sit down and you're trying to write your content for marketing and you're struggling because you don't have your messaging well defined, then it's going to be hard. But what if you paused and fixed the problem? What if you got your messaging lock solid? What if you had the confidence that you knew how to talk to your ideal clients in the way that they care about? Well, then when you go back to start writing content, it goes so much easier, right? I can turn anything into valuable messaging related content. Oh, Helen says that's really helpful. I've been wondering how to use my failures. Helen, that is going to make you so relatable and approachable by the people that are going to resonate with those stories. Because you guys know, we live in a Pinterest, Instagram world where everyone's putting out their best face forward, right? They're only sharing their successes. Not everybody's comfortable sharing their failures because, well, I don't want to look like I'm not an expert, so I have to say like I only know how to be successful. Well, guess what? It's through those failures that you learned to be successful, even if it's a small thing. Like, I tried to, I tried to use this one webinar platform and I had check challenges here, there, everywhere, and I hated it. No one signed up for my thing. And then I switched and I tried this other thing, and oh my gosh, everything feels so much better now. If that's relatable to your business, like if choosing a technology is something that would be valuable, showing how you chose the wrong one and how painful that is would be so helpful to people, right? Because then they know you've done the work. You've tried the things and you said, nope, this one doesn't work. This failed. And here's what I've learned from that. And by the way, here's what I do now and it's better. People love that stuff. Hey, Fran, so good to see you. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me live today. So I have done this a couple times inside my free group, The Messaging Den, and I'm going to do it again today. I'm going to show you how quickly and easily it can be to create content based on anything when you know what your message is, when you know what it is you need to talk about to position yourself as an expert. So in my group today, I'll put a post up. Actually, I'll probably go live really quick in my group right after this, where you can give me anything. Give me an object. I've written a post about silly putty. I've written a post about laughing. I've written a post about, what else have people challenged me with? Oh, my husband. It's so funny. I don't share this, but I was telling my husband how I do this exercise with my clients, and then sometimes in my free group where I'm like, give me anything and I'll turn it into post. And he's like, all right, write a post, a messaging related value post about a serial killer. And in 5 minutes, sitting there talking it out with him, I totally have this whole thing. I'll never really use it. That's not consistent with my brand personality, but it goes to show that I literally could take, I've yet to be stumped. Let me just say that. Now, you might throw something in there and stump me, but I want to show you how that can work. So pop on into the Messaging Den. If you're not already a member, you can go to themessagingden.com or search for the Messaging Den right here on Facebook. And I'm going to do a quick Facebook Live just explaining how this works, and drop in the comments of that Facebook Live something, an event that's happened to you, something that happened to you today. Did you trip and stub your toe on something? An object, a frustration. It doesn't have to be about business. Give me anything. Like I said, last time around, silly putty was one, and that's now one of my favorite posts, by the way. I've written posts about my cat. In fact, that's one of my most popular posts, is what my cat knows about messaging, and it's a real story about something that she did and how I turned it into this whole messaging related post. So pop into the Messaging Den and give me a topic. And by the end of the day today, because I've got some calls throughout the day, but by the end of the day today, I will come back and share a messaging related value post with that topic. So I'm up for the challenge. And like I said, I have yet to be stumped. That's not to say that some of them aren't a little bit more difficult than others, but I love the challenge. So pop into the Messaging Den and give me the challenge. I'm up for it. And let me show you how that can work. Cheryl's laughing. I'm sure that was about the serial killer. My husband and his twisted wisdom, and he was actually, hey, I impressed him. So, hey, that's funny. He's in the industry. For those of you who don't know, he's a graphic designer as well. We had a full service branding agency 15-ish years ago. So whenever we're talking about stuff, I mean, he's in the industry, and so he gets it. And so he was trying to stump me to see if he could stump me. Can't stump me. So let me know how that helps you come up with content ideas. Share with me in the comments below one thing that happened to you yesterday that you could, with a little work, like you want to write it, but just tell me something that happened to you yesterday that you could turn into a valuable piece of content, and just share with me the topic down below and why you think, or how you would turn that in there. Like, give me the highlights. All right. Share that in the comments, and I'll come back and give you some feedback if I've got additional ideas of how you can deepen it into your own message. All right. And then come join us in the Messaging Den for that challenge today and see what kind of content I can whip up today based on the topics that you give me. Next week, we're going to wrap up Content Creation and Content Strategy Month right here at 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday with some Q&A. I've been collecting questions all month long that didn't fit specifically into any of the topics that I had. I've got some great questions. So if you have any additional questions about planning content, content ideas, repurposing content, anything related to content creation or content strategy. I will be back here next Tuesday for an open Q&A. So get those questions ready. You can bring them to me live, submit them in advance, totally up to you. In the meantime, don't settle for sounding like everybody else. Make sure you stand out. You get heard. Make your message roar. Have a great day. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.